to me, my precious child. I've called your name. Nothing can take you from my hand. I'm still the same.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this final instalment of our Lent series. We've got to the last one today. We've been looking at some different people who were part and parcel of the story for Jesus leading up to his crucifixion and his resurrection. And so far we've looked at Caiaphas, the chief priest of the temple. He was the person who you could say, this is what happens when religion goes bad. We've also looked at Pontius Pilate and recognised that, he could have been a compromising politician or capitulated in some of the decisions that he made and choices that he made. Then we looked on Mothering Sunday, just the other Sunday, at Mary, the mother of Jesus, and what we can learn from her in relation to that situation. And finally, today, we're going to come to another Mary. That's Mary Magdalene. I'm going to have a look at what we can learn from Mary in a moment. Fair to say, Mary Magdalene is a hero of Philippa's. Philippus admires Mary Magdalene for many reasons, possibly not because of her previous life, you could say. Hope that's the case. But basically for some of the things, again, that we can learn from her in relation to what became of her and what she did after she met Jesus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read just a few verses where Mary is mentioned and acknowledged, and then we'll have a little look at what we can get from that. So here we go. Soon afterwards, Jesus went on through the cities and the villages, proclaiming and bringing the good news of the kingdom of God. The 12 were with him, as well as some women who had been cured of evil spirits and infirmities. Mary, called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had gone out, and Joanna, the wife of Herod's steward Chusa, and Susanna and many others who provided for them out of their resources. We now move on to the crucifixion. Many women were also there, looking on from a distance. They had followed Jesus from Galilee and provided for him. Among them, at this time, were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of the sons of Zebedee. Following on from this. So Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn in a rock. He then rolled the great stone of the door of the tomb and went away. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were there sitting opposite the tomb. Very early, on the first day of the week, when it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. So she ran and went to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They have taken away my Lord, and we do not know where they have laid him." So Mary was traditionally seen as the one whom Jesus had cast out the 7 demons, and was also the one who apparently was deemed to be a prostitute. Now, some people might say these days that casting out 7 demons, not sure, maybe she had a mental illness. Well, as far as I'm concerned, either way, we see a person who was in a bad way, her life was in a mess, and then she has this amazing encounter with Jesus, where she receives a wonderful healing, where her life is absolutely transformed, where she's actually healed in body, mind, spirit, and emotions. The transformation was enormous, and she went on to become one of the mainstay followers of Jesus, albeit not mentioned as one of the 12 disciples, given the cultural situation of those days. But she was there constantly in and around that group of people, of disciples. She's the one who, in Jesus Christ Superstar, that musical, sings the song, "I Don't Know How to Love Him." However, I think it'd be fair to say that she would probably also sing from her heart that traditional old hymn, "Praise my soul, the King of Heaven," particularly that line that says, "Ransomed, healed, restored, forgiven. Who like me his praise could sing? One of the things we learn from Mary is the conversion experience that she went through healing and through actually spending time with Jesus and seeing how he worked, what he did, what he said, and what he was like. She had that kind of experience that put her back in a right relationship with God and in right relationship with others. Having been somebody who was marginalised and seemed to be on the edges of society and community, she was now part of a family. She was back now in social circles compared to where she would have been before the encounter that she had with Jesus. So first of all, conversion. That's one thing we can learn from her. The second thing is waiting. Having followed Jesus and with others, she gets to witness the horrors of his execution and his death. She is one that's found to be with others at first as maybe a larger group of people to be waiting at the site of the crucifixion on Golgotha, near the cross. It says they were waiting at a distance initially, but as events unfolded and as time went on, as people dispersed and went away, we discover that Mary is still there waiting. This time, she's closer to her Lord and her Master. This time, she's closer to the foot of the cross. Now, we're coming to the end of that period of Lent, the traditional period of Lent. But you could say that at this moment in time, we're only seemingly to begin a different kind of period of Lent, a different kind of waiting that we're going to have to do, a different kind of, if you like, desert or wilderness experience because of all the circumstances we find ourselves in right now. And I guess you could say at this moment, we may be waiting to hear what more resolutions and conditions that are going to come out in relation to how we can live or what we can do or what we can't do. And maybe we're waiting for more government announcements for things of how life will be for the coming foreseeable future. For many people, waiting can seem like a complete waste of time, you sort of think, well, I don't want to be waiting, I want to be doing stuff, I want to be getting on with stuff, I want to be able to do my life back again as it was. But at this moment in time, maybe waiting is no bad thing. It's not necessarily a waste of time. As with Lent, which of course traditionally with Lent, we think of it as a time to reflect on our relationship with God, our relationship with others, our own personal lives and where we're at spiritually and in other ways too. And maybe during this time, it will give us an opportunity to discuss and to think about and ponder what are the important things in our life, what matters, what our priorities are, what we should really consider to be the best thing and the best ways forward in life. All of these things now we can begin to reflect on and think about, and also think about them in relation to, well, where do I find God in all this? And can I find God in all this? And is God in all this? These things we can discover and maybe ponder and consider during this time. So maybe we sit with Mary at the foot of the cross in what seems like a dark period of time, and we wait and we reflect and we consider. Thirdly and finally, one of the things we can learn from Mary is recognising. Mary, as we said, went through the agony of watching Jesus crucified and dying. She experienced the pains of shock and frustration and sadness and loss, possibly anger, maybe disbelief at what was going on at that point in time. And we can learn from that because I'm sure somewhere along the line we're all experiencing something of those kinds of feelings and emotions. All of those things, maybe more than that we're feeling at this time. But for Mary, she's found to be at the tomb. Again, it's still dark initially when she gets there. She's back there later on as well, as John recounts too in his gospel. And because she's there, and because she's waited and she's gone through that situation, she becomes the first person to meet Jesus, the risen Jesus. She's the one, the first person to receive the kind of new hope that the Easter day brought at that point in time. More of that, of course, in a couple of weeks' time when it is actually Easter. But for us, this can bring hope into our current circumstances and situations, and in life in general, and in faith in general. That having gone through that experience of being converted, if you like, if you've gone through that experience of waiting, she then comes to the point of recognizing. And when she sees Jesus at first, she doesn't recognise him. There seems to be something different about him. She's obviously him, but he's kind of not him in the same way somehow or other. And so basically, she goes through this particular period, but it can help us in hope, because many of us now are no doubt wondering, what will life be like beyond this point of everything we're going through now? Will we just get back to normal? Will there be a new normal? Will life be different? Will it be the same? What will it be like? What's going to happen? So all these questions are around, but if we put our faith, if we put our trust in our God, if we come to the point of wanting to recognise more of God in our lives and see more of God in our lives, as we acknowledge Jesus in his death and his resurrection, the hope that that can bring, then maybe we will discover a new normal anyway. A new normal that gives us more hope and more faith and more strength. In our Sunday morning service the other day, I played that song, Strength Will Rise as We Wait Upon the Lord. Now, as we know, and as I mentioned then, I didn't just play that song because it's the one me and Philippa had at the wedding as we left the church after the ceremony, or at the end of the ceremony. But I chose it because of this particular verse we've been looking at, and Mary, the character. It comes from Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 31, where it says, strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. So if we engage with Mary in conversion and ongoing conversion, in waiting, then we will come to recognise God more and more for ourselves and in our lives. And he will give us that strength inside to be able to face whatever we're going through and to come through the other side as well, because he will remain faithful to us throughout this whole experience, no matter what we may be feeling like. There'll be more of these on YouTube. They'll be coming up for Palm Sunday, of course, and then some things during Holy Week. Also on our Facebook page, we'll be going live again at 10 o'clock on Palm Sunday. But also I'll be announcing then of some of the events that we'll have during Holy Week in relation to Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, Easter Sunday, and we'll also be doing the Stations of the Cross during that point in time. So keep on looking, keep on looking after yourselves. As I've said before, if you can stay sane, wonderful in the middle of all this. Look forward to hearing you soon and sharing with you again in the not too distant future.
My shackles you tossed away, my sin is so far away, as far as the east from the west.